All right, some technical difficulties. Okay, we are back. LRC is back with the Academy League. We took a little break from the league after season 2 ended. So we're now live with the Academy League. And I'm joined here by my co-commentator, Alan. Alan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Wonka. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to see what our beginner and intermediate drivers can do tonight. But yeah, let's get into it. This is your league this time instead of Dyno managing it. So I'd love to hear you explain the rules for everyone.
Yeah, so this was kind of inspired a little bit from kind of our academy sessions and just in general our events at LRC have been geared a little bit more towards intermediate drivers and a little bit more on the experience side. And to me, it felt like beginner drivers were getting a little bit left behind. And so we decided to create a league for intermediates and beginners only, and not allowing the more experienced drivers to take part and dominate. So this will be a very similar structure to the league, except that there's no teams. But the main difference here is that there's no teams, and then for every race that we have, there will be a ballast that will be applied to the top 5 runners, that will accrue all season long. So we'll have 5 weeks, 5 weeks total. So a qualifying shootout, and then 4 races total, and then each round will have, 4 rounds total, and then each round will have 2 races that are 25 minutes long. So super excited.
Nice, and it's a spec series this time too. I think that's the first time we've done anything like that with LRC. So that's gonna, I don't know. I'm so excited for this series just to see how everyone kind of stacks up against each other. Like I know in our Discord, the experience tags like beginner, intermediate, expert. Everyone has like a brief idea or a basic idea of what they mean, but um, I think we've talked about it many times on stream about how there's so many elements to make a complete racing driver. So it'll be interesting to see what people label themselves as versus where they turn out. Um, I don't know. I'm a data nerd, so I'm also looking forward to seeing all the improvement over the course of the season with the spec car. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and the Red Bull is kind of like, to me, is almost like the perfect spec car in a lot of ways, just because, or at least when it's reduced to power. So we have the Red Bull car with the ECU down to 80%. So it's currently at 197 horsepower, but it's extremely light, so it's only 1,200 pounds. But it's a great car to race in because the draft is pretty strong, but not like super strong. And then the car itself is, fairly balanced. There's a lot of understeer that you can induce on the exit, and a lot of oversteer that you can induce on braking on entry. It's a great learning car, and the visibility is really good too in the car as well. So it helps a lot with with the drivers understanding where they are and who others are on track with them. And it's just cool. It's cool looking. So it's overall, I'm pretty excited with the decisions that we made for the league. But with that being said,
yeah.
we're gonna get, sorry just to cut you off. We're gonna get started with qualifying here. So we're hitting the half-hour mark. So we're gonna start qualifying. You were gonna say something, Alan?
Oh, I was just gonna give more props to choosing probably one of my most favorite cars in Gran Turismo. I think it first appeared in GT Sport, and I think it had the most miles at the time for me for a long time. It's
Nice.
just a great feeling car. Like, it's really hard to get it loose and crash it. The reduced power band, I guess, is going to make it even stick to the road even more. And then I'm curious about the tune. I didn't get a chance to drive the tune extensively, but did you gear it towards a certain kind of tendency, understeer versus oversteer, to like test the limits of the drivers?
Yeah, so I tried to make it as balanced as possible. um, Looks like everyone's coming out on a track here. So yeah, I tried to make the tune as balanced as possible, so it's not too understeery or oversteery. Because I know like a lot of drivers have a preference for either one. But if it's fairly balanced, then it kind of levels the playing field, and it doesn't require the driver to, alter their driving style too much. But this car, with the default setup, does have a tendency to understeer a lot. So the setup is quite drastically different from the default settings. And then on top of that, I think I loosened the suspension a lot just to handle any like rough bumps and curbs, so it's a little bit easier to run the car around the curbs. But what's cool is that we're mandating the tune across all the cars, so no one can change any of the suspension parameters, so that everyone's going to be running the same tune. So for the beginners who still are learning the ins and outs of tuning, they don't have to feel like they're going to be at a disadvantage here because they don't know how to tune their car specifically, like maybe some of the intermediate drivers do, or people who've participated in the league have knowledge. So again, equal playing field.
I'm also envious of the track selection. I'm actually very, very jealous I can't compete in this. As you mentioned earlier, only the experts were included, and I mean, a piece of me wants to compete because I originally joined LRC in August of last year and fancied myself a beginner, and then intermediate once we got our dynos, the main league season 1 going, and then after finishing the league, I was like, okay, maybe I am an expert based on how I did. But as we've recruited more people via Twitch and Reddit and all the other avenues for getting new members, I'm questioning my expert rating. Not that I think I'm a bad driver at all,
Yeah.
but I also like wanted to set a lap time to see how I could compare. But I really want to showcase our self-proclaimed beginners and intermediates. And again, it's a self-reported rating, and I don't think we like exclude anyone, or this is the first exclusionary event, I would say, besides some of the roadster events. So
Yeah.
I love spec racing, and after the different manufacturers and the different categories of the season 2, I'm jealous not to enter the even playing field. But I also really enjoyed commentating for season 2, so I'm just happy to be here today.
Yeah. It feels good to be kind of like back and commentating and watching people race again in our community. It's just, yeah, in general, it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see other people compete. And it's funny because the track selection too, I intentionally picked tracks that are incredibly short that kind of like focused on certain like techniques, right? So like I picked Miyabi as the first one because it's kind of like high speed cornering and high speed control of the car. And then the next one is Suzuka East, so that it's the section of Suzuka that only contains the S's and then the straightaway. So that's also kind of like, you know, technically just focused on the cornering aspect, and then, you know, the positioning of your car on the racing line through the S's. And then the final one is Tsukuba, which kind of puts, you know, both the tracks into one almost. So it's kind of like a really good assessment of a driver's skill level across all sorts of different cornering applications.
Yeah, I want to say they like go up in difficulty, but each track has its own element that I think make it a unique challenge. At least for Miyabi, to me, is how much you can get away without lifting on turns 1 through 2, and then that S section, like it's a track. It can be as hard as you want it to be, like depending on how much you push.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where it's actually more challenging than it seems, because you're on the limit in all of these fast corners, and then if you go beyond that limit just a little bit, it really ruins your time. Like the S's, for example, the S bend in the back straight is flat out, for example. But if you turn in too late, or you know you don't take the optimal line, you definitely have to lift, or you'll end up just in the grass. And then I think a lot of trouble that a lot of the drivers will potentially have is the hairpin just before the front straight, which is kind of like a heavy braking zone that requires a lot of trail braking to be optimal through that corner. And then there's a slight elevation change towards the exit of that corner where you get a slight compression on the early exit, but then you get a little bit of a decompression on the late exit, and you could potentially spin your car out if you gas it too hard. So it's a technical track, and it's but it's like, you know, kind of deceiving, you know. So we can go through our drivers right now. We'll go introduce our drivers for the qualifying session right now. So we're six minutes into our 20-minute qualifying session. Currently, Ali Bali heading out of the pits from I think that's a Netherlands flag, or no? That's right? That's a Netherlands flag. Yeah. I don't know. I think it is. I hope I'm right. So Ali Bali joining us from the Netherlands, fairly recent LRC member, currently holding pole position at the moment, just 2/10 of a second over Sunny B. So Sunny B was, I believe he was a substitute for the league, right?
Yeah, he joined Shinra with 2 races to go and stepped into the role very aggressively and enthusiastically. He joined our GR4 team, Rogue, and I'm forgetting everyone right now. Bishop got him up to speed, and he did very well. I think he just missed the podium in his first race.
Yeah,
and then he got a second place.
and he's a self-proclaimed beginner, right? And just dove right into the deep end and started doing well right away. So, will be great to see him hopefully do well in the Academy League. We got War Eagle right now currently sitting in 3rd place. So it's a tight field so far. So Sunny B is only 0.2 of a second, just about 0.3 of a second behind Ali Bali. And then we got War Eagle in 3rd place right now. Just looks like 1/10 of a second behind Sunny B. War Eagle has been part of LRC for quite some time now. Did not participate in Season 2, but I think he participated in Season 1, right, of the league?
Yeah, I believe he was with the... I'm forgetting the team.
I don't even remember the
he was
teams
one of the
from
Renault
Season
boys.
1.
Talladega Nights. I believe he was Land King's
that's
partner.
right. Yes,
And
that is right. You're correct.
no, he's a fantastic driver. He's a very versatile driver too. I think he just loves driving anything. I've seen him do well in production cars. He was fantastic in the GR4 series. He's doing great so far on track right now. He's a very silent person in the chat, but I remember he was one of the people I was always like either just chasing or always had in my rearview mirrors when we were driving. So I'm excited to see him back. And I'm excited to see what he can do. I love his livery too, by the way. The blue chrome is very striking.
Yes. It's like a chrome Renault like color almost.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a neon green yellowish like accents. It's really, really nice. Yeah, so welcome back, War, to competitive racing at LRC. And oh my god, everyone's like separated by a 10th. It's crazy. So Flying Disc currently sitting in 4th place right now. A 10th behind War Eagle. Flying Disc, also another long-time LRC member. Good to see him participating. Loving the waifu on his front tires. I don't know who that is. Can't get a good look. So Neil, I don't think has participated in any of our competitions yet. I think this is his first one, but he's participated in a lot of our Formula Fridays. Participates in the Wednesday Academy every once in a while. Always does really great. He's a very clean racer. Very solid. Very solid performance by him. Currently sitting in 5th place. So Token Timmy currently sitting in 6th, a 10th behind Neil, and less than a 10th in front of Trackhead. So those two are very, very close.
Wow.
So Token Timmy and Trackhead being, very long time members of LRC as well. So Trackhead actually jumps into 5th place right now with a fast lap of a 39.1. So jumps up. This is a really tight field. Like even top 7 are probably within a second, maybe less than a second. So good to see Trackhead back out on track. Were you there for that one time? I forget who called them this, but they called him Crackhead instead of Trackhead.
Yes.
That was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. We were dying out laughing in the chat for so long.
I'm pretty sure that's buried somewhere in my LRC clips. Ever since joining this group, my media capture group folder on I'm pretty sure I have 30 gigs worth of clips here.
That was probably one of like the top,
driving.
top like 5 LRC moments in chat. That was so funny. I think it was Silva. I think Silva had like typed in Crackhead instead of Trackhead or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
I think that was it. So Kaido is currently in 8th place. He is a relatively new member of LRC. I think he joined after he saw one of our streams, actually. So
I remember him popping in the chat.
Welcome, Kaido, for joining LRC, and this is going to be his first competition with us. Putting in some laps, currently sitting at 8th place. Did some practice with him yesterday, and he was doing quite well actually. So good to see him currently sitting in 8th place at the moment. Killer Pros, he participated in the league season 2. I think he was part of VIR Racing. Currently sitting in 9th place. He recently got the G Pro, the Logitech G Pro, so he's relatively new to racing on a wheel, jumping from the controller. And finally, we got Rogue Nipra in 10th place. Rogue, also a long-time LRC member, been here, I don't know, since maybe a couple months after LRC started. So, been here for a while, participated in the league, both seasons, and is looking to get back on the track after a little bit of a hiatus from having to send his wheel, I think, back to Logitech after some technical issues. Currently spun out on track, looking to correct his car. He just elects to go. You know, I do that all the time.
I don't know if there's any fuel savers or fuel burners out there. I see Sunny B and War have not pitted yet. I think you have the settings set to 1x.
Yeah, the
for
settings
everything,
are,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's 1x for tires and 1x for fuel, and the Red Bull's fuel is so fuel efficient, it's crazy. Like, it's not really going to give you much an advantage if to stay out on track and burn fuel. So check this out. So Sunny B is only 0.008 of a second behind Ollie Bali right now in second place.
He's one of the fuel burners, been out there pretty much the entire time. But yeah, if you like peak his fuel, it's probably like 5% at that. I don't think that's enough to make a difference lap time wise. But going back to your original point, like I have never been a fuel burner qualifier. Like I just know, like, I get flustered so easily if I've been in a qualifying sesh. That's straight to the pits, like,
it's
reset.
Kind of funny though, because like 0.008 of a second actually might be the difference of like 3% of fuel or 5% of fuel difference in weight. So I don't know, but Sunny B is running lighter, so like if he's looking for an advantage, like maybe that extra fuel might give him, you know, like couple thousandths, but he still has to make up 0.008 on Ollie Bali. This field's really tight. So War Eagle is only 0.02 of a second in front of Flying Disc.
Oh, jeez. And then I don't know if you've mentioned it on stream yet. We're not doing cumulative time for our initial rankings, right? We're doing like an average of the session rankings.
Yes, that's correct. So I found that the times, using the sum of times, could be slightly misleading if one of the drivers has like a really bad session, and the upside of your errors is much higher. It's basically unlimited if you use the sum time. So like, if, for example, if you do well in 2 of the sessions and then you just simply don't get a good hot lap in for the 3rd, that could throw you down way far down the leaderboard than it really should. So I feel like it's a better descriptor of your skill level by averaging the position that you end up after each qualifying session.
Yeah, I think I did some like test calculations because I was also wondering about it as well, and it does reward consistency. Like, hypothetically, you could never even touch the podium depending on how other people do and still qualify first. If I mean, it's unlikely, but it's still like it's a really interesting system. Um, I mean, you do have like a really great set of tracks where they're about a minute, I want to say. So it's, I don't know. Again, I'm very jealous I'm not in this right now. I'm probably gonna go do my own sessions after this just to see where I stack up and get familiar with the car.
Yeah, I was gonna mention earlier when we were talking about the self-reported skill levels. So it's super relative, and really there's so many facets of skill as well. So I think I was talking to maybe Ollie about this on Discord, like maybe yesterday, how you could be fast on raw pace alone, but then when it comes to racecraft, maybe you're not as skilled, or maybe your consistency is not as good, and there's like just so many different facets to what we could consider skill that like you're gonna get just a wide range of people's ability to race in one designation. So, but it seems like everyone's really close here. Like everyone is like, I don't know, if we go through this whole thing, like I don't think there is more than maybe half a second between people in this whole field right now, so it's super tight.
Yeah, I feel like the only two drivers that again, I wouldn't call them off the pace, but maybe just a larger gap are the two drivers that I know that have taken a hiatus or dealing with new equipment. I think Rogue just got his wheel back, and you mentioned Killer Pros just switched to a wheel as well. Like,
Yes, so Killer
there's always
Pros
that
is
expected.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there's just always like an expected like learning curve with the wheel where you're quite a bit off your expected pace, what you're doing on controller.
Yeah,
So, but
that's
again,
correct.
the ranking system will kind of even everything out. So the time differences, again, the beauty of it just normalizes everything.
Yep, and again, if you're just joining us, this is the LRC Academy League, where our self-proclaimed intermediate and beginner drivers are participating in this league, and experienced drivers are not allowed to participate. And yeah, Killer Pros recently has switched to the wheel, and he's still getting used to it. He joined practice yesterday and was having a little bit of difficulty with consistency, which is, you know, just natural when you're going to switch to wheel. Everything just kind of feels a little foreign to you.
Mm-hmm.
But Kaido right now is sitting currently in 7th place, only 13 thousandths of a second in front of Timmy. And looks like we're just finishing up qualifying here. Time is just like blown by so quickly. So Token Timmy is going to cross the line for one final time here. It looks like a lot of the drivers have actually finished up their laps already. And we haven't seen much movement in the leaderboard really in the second half of the session. Everyone's kind of stayed in the positions. Looks like Trackhead jumped up to 4th. I think he was initially 5th towards the middle of the session. Sunny B
Yeah, I
still
think
in second.
I think everyone set their best lap within the first, I want to say, 6 or 7 laps. There was some late improvers. Um, I find I follow that trend well, where my best lap is 2 seconds, and then I don't know, you start chasing a lap time that you don't know what you did sometimes to get like such a stellar result. Maybe it's just that like mental freshness that like you're ready to attack and like everything, you get into the zone very quickly. And then after that, you just, when you see that like red tick mark pop up time after time, it starts to demoralize you. Like, where is that time? I know it's there somewhere.
Yeah, the you're talking about the positive delta on
Yeah.
your sectors. Yeah. I tend to
But good
find
etiquette too.
I tend
I
to
didn't see a
find
lot of people. Go ahead.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I don't think traffic was too big of a factor at this track, so I don't think it was anything like that. But what were you gonna say?
I was saying that I tend to find my yeah, like when you jump into a session, oftentimes you just have no thoughts, right? You're just gonna go out there, everything's a blank slate. But then as soon as you put a time down, you have to beat the time. You start thinking about stuff. You start thinking about corners. You start thinking about how you brake. Start thinking about how you accelerate. And oftentimes when you start thinking, that's when just things start going wrong because you start to overthink. Um, That's what I tend to find happens to me after I've set a really good time. But usually it takes me anywhere between I don't know 3 to 4 laps to get there. But so the first qualifying session's over. We'll take a look at the results. At those results. Okay, so Ollie Bali comes out with the pole position, the fastest lap, with a 38.487, only 8 thousandths of a second in front of Sunny B. So Sunny B is sitting in second place, War Eagle in third, about a tenth off the pace, off Ollie Bali's pace. Trackhead in fourth place, Flying Disc in fifth, Neil in sixth place, Kaido in seventh, and Token Timmy in eighth. So only 8 tenths of a second. And then we have Killapros in ninth place and Rogue in 10th. So like you were saying before, Killapros and Rogue both coming back from an adjustment period. Killapros on new equipment, so a little off the pace, but I'm sure they will be getting up to speed as we continue the session, but not only continue the session, but also throughout the season. Do you need time to enter those results? Or should I just screenshot them or something?
I've screenshotted them. I'm inputting them right now.
Go.
39, 54, and...
So I'm going to let
right,
these
we're all
guys
set.
know that we're going to switch rooms. Kind of a little bit of a different process here. Wait a sec. Oh, here we go. End race. All right, there we go. I was like, how do I do this again? All right, so now we're going to go to our second track. That's going to be Suzuka East. I think I have the weather and the time settings correct. So Cobra will be joining us for this session. I guess the average kind of works out. Average position of the sessions kind of works out too. So now Cobra can just do the last two, and then we'll just take the average of the last two for him and see where he falls with everyone else.
Ollie Bali's in chat. 1 Dutchman against 9 Americans. We need a Motsky, and I think it's Chad Bro Chill. Those are some of our resident Canadians, if I remember correctly.
Motsky should be joining us soon. All right, so it looks like we're on a pretty good schedule. So we'll do 10 minutes of warm up and then another 20 minutes for the qualifying session. That puts us the half-hour mark. And then we'll be finished, hopefully, by the end of the hour. So Beto, I think I missed your chat message earlier in Twitch. You asked, can we make a Twitch chat request to add LRC emojis? So we just got the affiliate status, which allows us to add custom emojis. So I can
No way.
I can definitely add them. So it's pretty cool. Affiliate status actually allows us to monetize the channel if we wanted to, and have people subscribe to us. So that's really, really neat. Oh, Sunny B there gets
Oh no.
turns Rogue around into turn 1. I'm sure words are currently being exchanged at the moment in the LRC party chat. Sunny B, knowing Sunny B is a very good sportsmanship racer. I'm sure he's apologized
a little bit
profusely.
of karma.
Yeah.
I noticed it earlier at the Miyabi session, before we even started the stream. I think it's mainly Sunny B and Ollie are still pushing even in the practice sessions. Because if I remember correctly, Sunny B was top in the unofficial practice, but Ollie Bolly just pipped him by 8 thousandths. That's pretty wild to me.
Yeah,
Again,
it's gonna be
goes back.
It's gonna be a close between them probably all season long. So we already starting to see rivalries starting to shape up.
What are the settings for the race? Is it both going to be 1x for tires and fuel as well, or are you trying to teach some strategy in this academy league as well?
Oh yeah, good question. So it's going to be 50x tire wear.
Oh,
50x tire wear, and then 7x fuel. So
okay.
this car does not use tires at all. Like in any setting that I've tested out, basically you could run softs to the end for like 25 minutes. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to have 2 required tire compounds, one soft and one hard. So obviously the hard can just last the entire race if you wanted to, but because you have to use the soft, you have to kind of decide whether or not you're going to use the softs on the first half of the race or the second half. So there's going to be like a tiny bit of strategy here where you have to use your soft tire compounds, but you have to decide whether or not you want to use them early in the race or at the end of the race. And the advantage is obviously being in the beginning of the race that you're going to be able to get track position if that's going to be important for your position or the track or your strategy. But then also, if you save your tires for the second half of the race, your car is going to be lighter on fuel, so you might be able to make them last longer and have longer a longer stint with faster pace towards the end of the race. So not a ton of strategy, but it's enough to make you think a little bit about whether or not you want to use your softs first or last.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach in our regular league. I know that was all of our prep was determining what compounds was best to use and balancing potentially all 3 being used in a race. This reminds me of like Formula 1 style rules where minimum 2 compounds. I mean, it takes the mind games out of it quite a bit. It like instills that like how is the car feeling, like what are your lap times telling you versus what you think is like how the car is feeling underneath you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm in your testing. Was there 2 stops potentially like a thing to do, or
it's always just 1 stop.
Always one. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
it's always going to be 1 stop, but depending on the track, the softs might last anywhere from 10% of the race to potentially half the race. So I think high speed ring, so high speed ring, they just die, maybe 3 or 4 laps in, right? But I think in some of the other tracks, they last much longer. So people will have to do a little bit of testing ahead of the weekend, but I didn't want to make it the strategy too complex where they have to test 10 different strategies and have crazy spreadsheets, kind of like how you did for the league. So I don't want them to be spending more time. I didn't want them to spend more time on strategy and cooking up strategy over honing their just skills, right? Their craft. So a couple of cars here, just sitting at the exit of the last turn here at the Dunlop turn. It's kind of like the anti-Dunlop. It's certainly a very tricky corner, especially after the S's, because it's uphill towards the entrance of the corner and off camber and downhill towards the exit. So there's a huge loss of mechanical grip throughout the corner, and it's kind of blind coming in. There's no real indicator of when the corner starts or where the apex is. So extremely tricky for our drivers here.
And I think we lost one driver. I don't know if they told you. I saw Trackhead is no longer with us. I don't know if he was only going to be part-time for our shootout session, but just something to keep a note of.
Oh yeah, maybe he had to bounce, or maybe his connection issue. But we're currently riding on board with Cobra. Cobra is not necessarily a new LRC member. He's been with LRC for a couple months now. Joins the Formula Friday races quite often. Some of the Wednesday academies as well. I don't think he joined in any of the league races yet.
No, I don't think he's participated in one of those yet.
Yes, so I think this is going to be his debut league appearance. So I think out of all the people here, the only people that are really debuting on a league appearance is going to be Kaido and Cobra, I believe. I think everyone else.
And Neil, I think, is our third.
And Neil, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Neil. And then everyone else, aside from Token, Timmy, and Disc and Rogue, have only competed in one season, or were part-time in season 2. Yeah, brand new field. This is awesome.
So I'm giving the drivers the 2-minute warning before qualifying starts.
32 Nasty's in the chat. Good to see you. He's asking if it's going to be the juniors only. This will be a completely single make championship race over the 8 races in 4 rounds. Always the junior, and it's going to be a new tune each time, if I'm getting ahead of myself, Walker.
No, it's just going to be the same tune throughout the entire
same tune.
season.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, so everyone will have the chance to become familiar with how the car behaves in the current setup. Again, I wanted to emphasize less time, tinkering and strategizing, more time for drivers to hone in on their craft and skills on the track. And again, the tune is fairly balanced overall, so it's going to feel a little understeery on off-camber corners, and you're going to get all that extra mechanical grip on camber ones. You can induce the oversteer pretty well on brake entry, and if you downshift as well, using that kind of dynamic brake bias to rotate the car. So a lot of interesting things that you could do to make the car turn or perform better that our drivers will certainly become more familiar with as the season goes on. I think I will have my Wednesday academy practices focus on them as well and help them improve
nice.
their racecraft and their skills as well. But in those, I think everyone will be able to join, so they will be practicing alongside the more experienced drivers of LRC.
And then I don't think we've mentioned it yet on stream, and this is mainly for the people in chat and hopefully some first-time viewers, that this is a drop-in, drop-out league, if I'm not mistaken. So some drivers might only be with us for one round, others might be for all four. Twitch chat, if you're interested in joining us, this is a perfect time to do it.
Yep, that's certainly true. So, you can jump in whenever you want, as long as there's available space. And we don't require our sportsmanship license like we do for some of our major events before allowing people to join. Yeah, you don't need to do the quality to join. So if you want to join in for a week, I'll probably just add maybe the ballast, the average ballast that's applied across all cars, 2 hours or something like that. We'll figure it out. It's kind of just, this whole thing has just been kind of like figure it out as I go. So. All right, so we're starting up qualifying. Looks like Ali Bali is back in the room. Yeah, so Nasty, if you want to get in on this, definitely feel free to join whenever you're free. So Trackhead's internet died.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Ugh.
So War Eagle leads the pack into our second qualifying session. We'll ride on board with him and see how he performs on his first hot lap. So looks like a fairly neat and tidy couple of corners through the S's. That long right-hander there being the longest and most off-camber of them all, aside from this last corner. Goes a little deep into the corner, has to brake and downshift towards the exit, so that'll cost him quite a bit of time. I think we'll be looking for somewhere around the high 50s for a top time here today.
Yeah, that was a great first lap from War. I think I haven't approached this course with this car yet, but the S's are one of those where if you get the rhythm just right, you hardly if ever touch the brake. Just maybe like a little trail braking to put some of that weight forward to get you that little extra grip going. Mainly on that like big right-hander where we picked up War, and he's kind of like demonstrating that very well. If you guys take a peek at his telemetry.
I don't know if you saw that, but that was nuts.
I think that is our cone physics at work.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. I think I got that on replay. Here we go. I saw the cone. Oh my goodness. There was a cone there, but like for some reason the replay doesn't show it there anymore. It's wild.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the cones and anything that's like a movable item on the track is unique to your lobby only. So War probably doesn't even know he hit that. It probably looks all clear on his end, but on the host side, or because my cones are in a little different place than the stream right now, which I find very funny.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. What's funny
so
because
that's why it looked like he.
in this lobby, there wasn't a cone that he ran over, or maybe there was before the replay, and maybe the replay like somehow was like trying to use the cone that was there but wasn't. I don't know. It's really strange. I wonder if he saw the cone on his side of the game, and then it caused his car to pop up, and in ours we just see his car just jump into the air. I don't know. It's wild. Yeah, so Nasty, I think if you do, yeah, you knock over something in your own... Well, I don't know about meter markers, because I do see those get taken out quite often. So I'm not actually quite sure about meter markers. Flying Disc losing the back of his car quite a bit towards the Dunlop corner. He elects to jump into the pits, potentially, to maybe get a fresh set of tires.
Sunny B just went to the top of the timetable only by 11 thousandths off of War.
Nice. So Sunny B showing consistency across the different tracks. Ali Bali currently sitting in 5th place at the moment. I think he made a comment earlier in chat saying it was much harder to get a good lap time in with cars on the track as opposed to running solo. And with these cars, you don't get a ton of air wash, but it's definitely there. Whenever you follow someone fairly closely through the S's, here at Suzuka, you definitely notice your car understeers more. And your car simply just doesn't have as much grip as it would if you were running in clean air. I think finding a little pocket for yourself to put in a really good lap without anyone in front of you is pretty key here. But at the same time, if you're behind them on the straight, you make up a decent amount of time as well, since you get the draft and the extra speed going down the straightaway. But Ali Bali sets the purple sector for sector 1 by just 1,000th of a second, and sets a personal best in sector 2, it looks like. Or I don't even know what that was. It didn't even... Oh yeah, that was sector 2, I think.
A little squirrely on the exit of the final corner. But Luke lost a lot of that time.
Yeah, he didn't improve his time at all, it seems.
But once again, our top 8 drivers all within a second of each other. Token Timmy is only 0.86 off the first place time.
So unlike the league that we run normally, the Academy League doesn't have any teams, so drivers won't be paired up with each other throughout the season based on the qualifiers. The qualifiers today will be the basis for their ballast, their initial ballast for the first race. So depending on pace and the results, Token Timmy hits a cone and his car just jumps into the air. It's really funny seeing that. But like I was saying earlier, the shootout positions will determine the initial ballast for the different drivers going into round 1 to make this league as fair as possible. As of now, the ballast penalties aren't currently determined fully yet, so still have to kind of make a decision on that. I think I also might maybe give like a boost or something like that to maybe Rogue and Killer Pros if they're really off the pace in the qualifiers. So it all kind of just depends on the pace and what we see to level the playing field. So that last turn is incredibly unforgiving. The minute your tires touch the outside, like the grass or the sand on the outside, it's just your lap is just done. There's no way to recover.
Yeah.
So we're about just halfway through. It seems like most of the drivers have really kind of settled into a position on the leaderboard. Ollie Bolly, as I say that, Ollie Bolly just sets a new lap record. He jumps up into, I think he was already in 5th actually, so doesn't move positions, I don't believe. So Neil comes out of the pits with a 3-second penalty, likely for crossing the pit lane line.
Oh, wow. Sonny drops a stomper of a lap at 50.7. Wow, that's very impressive. Finally found that extra time. He's taking an unorthodox wave. He's hugging the very inside of the final corner. It reminds me of Monza a little bit on how the drivers seemingly like go over the painted lines to eke out every tenth they can.
Yeah, so the trick to that last corner is cutting the entry apex. It's almost like a double apex turn. There's like a little like curb there on the entrance, and you can cut that quite a bit and really hug the inner line towards the beginning of the corner. And then in the middle of the corner, you want to rotate it the most, and then kind of, you know, slowly, gradually get on the gas as you exit and taking like that second half of the apex or the double apex turn. Sunny B with the 50.7 is a clear, almost half a second faster than any of the other laps he's been doing, other than 1 or 2 laps here throughout the session. That was a big jump in pace.
And I think while I was talking, Ollie Bolly improved up to 3rd place, just 800ths off of War. And maybe he's also hugging the inside, so maybe he kind of shadowed Sunny V.
Yeah, maybe he was watching Sunny V's screen while in the pits. Certainly taking advantage of Kaido's draft at the moment. But will he be impeded? He kind of gives him a little bit of a bump into the rear. That will certainly affect his lap time. Might give Kaido a little bit of a boost. So Flying Disc currently sitting in 4th place. Pretty solid result so far for him. And Neil in 5th. I guarantee you by now all of our drivers are pretty tired of the S's. Some of them are approaching lap number 10 already. Let's see. So Sunny B is on lap 16. It's like a full-on race.
Yeah. I don't think I could do 16 laps consecutively of the S's. As much as I love Suzuka, it might be my number 1 track. That is just a lot of teetering on the edge for 13-ish minutes is a long time. I doubt he's gonna pit too, knowing him.
Yeah. Sometimes it does help though to take a small break. Take a small break, reset, and just kind of like it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where a lot of times when you go into a qualifying session right away, you don't have anything on your mind. You don't have any expectations. You don't have any previous lap times set. And going in fresh like that can often help you concentrate just in the moment. You have to be present around every single corner that you're taking and really focusing on the next, the next turn in or the next braking point or the next throttle application. And sometimes just taking a quick breather and sitting in the pits for a minute can help you come back to the track like that.
Yeah, Flying Disc now sitting in second place, just less than 800ths off of War. War improved his lap, and then Flying Disc responded. I think he was sitting in fourth, if I remember correctly. Now he's in second.
Yeah, so Ali Bali with his newfound time that jumped, I think it was in second temporarily, now is back down to fourth place. Flying Disc and Cobra are currently just chilling in the pits. Maybe they heard me on stream and are taking a quick break. Or maybe they're just tired of the S's already. So Rogue jumps into 9th place. Killer Pro's only half a tenth behind. So even though those two are in 9th and 10th, they're still very close to each other. And Rogue is only 0.2 of a second behind Token Timmy. Goes deep into the last corner, also does a little bunny hop there. Oh, he's sitting on top of the cone. Look at this. Oh, wait, I think there's like some type of like, I was about to say, I was like some type of physics glitch where like his bouncing was getting higher and higher. I think if you just sat there, he'd go into space eventually. So much like the last corner of Suzuki East course, the first corner, if you get a wheel just past the curbs onto that green turf, greenish brown turf on the left side of turn 1, your turn is essentially done and you're going to be in the grass and the sand. So even though there's curbs and there's some runoff area and some of that green stuff on the track, there's a very little room for error.
Yeah, as much as I love Suzuka, turn 1 it's very easy to know. Ooh, wow, Ollie Polly flies up the inside of turn 1. Jeez. And if I remember correctly on the settings, you've taken all of the available downforce off for this tune.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? I think, nice.
Yeah, I wanted to make this as much of kind of like an F4 car where there's not that much downforce and not much power. So the drivers won't be affected by the aero wash as much as they would if the downforce is close to max or even higher. And the minimum downforce settings for the Red Bull Junior car is still a pretty decent amount of downforce. It's not like there's none. So even though the downforce setting is the lowest, it still is a decent amount in terms of absolute numbers.
Yeah, I think it's 300 and like 450,
450,
which is
yeah.
yeah, it's about the same units of or I don't really know how GT7 measures downforce. There's no measurement in terms of I guess how do you measure downforce? Is it like foot or
I think it's just pounds or
per square inch or something like that in terms of application?
yeah,
I
it
mean, we're
would be
getting a little too technical,
yeah,
but
it would be force, right? So I think it's just pounds in the English units.
but I think that's the same as the GR4 cars and GR3 if I'm
Mm.
remembering my settings for the Supra about right. Somewhere in the realm of 300 to like 450 in the front and 450 to like 600 in the back.
Okay, so we're approaching the end of our qualifying shootout. We have 30 seconds left, so just about enough time for one more lap for most people. And again, I bet everyone here is just about fed up with the S's at this point. Let's see. Let's take a look at Sunny B. See how many laps he's done. So Sunny B's on his 23rd lap. That's crazy. I think Sunny B still has the beginner class designation on his role in Discord. He sets a purple sector time for sector 1. There's a solid 300ths of a second, but he goes a little wide there in the S's. Yeah, and he loses a little bit of time there, and he's now 800ths behind his fastest time.
A
We'll see if
very
he gets
tidy
it.
final corner though. Ah, just off.
Doesn't improve, yeah.
I mean, still a 50.8. I think that would still put him in first place. So
Yeah.
can't be too disappointed with that. Oh, poor Cobra. He's still on track,
Oh no, is
navigating
he?
through.
Is he trying
I
to
think
do
he has
a
that
lap?
weird glitch.
Oh man.
He might have crossed the line, might have put it in the sand. That way, he's weaving in between. But we might have to wait the full 3 minutes. GT7 always cracks me up, and its weird glitches. It's it's a
I
great
think
game, but
also Cobra, or sorry, Ollie Bolly is yeah, just wait, is he just oh weird.
it's probably in chat like, "Why aren't we done?" And then Ollie's like, "Oh, I think I have to finish." Okay,
There we go. All right, so let's take a look at the results. So we got Sunny B with the fast lap. The only person in the 50s, so congrats, Sunny B. Flying Disc in second, 3/10 behind Sunny B. You got War in third, Neil in fourth, Ollie Bolly in fifth, all within half a second. Cobra in sixth, Kaido in seventh, Broken Timmy in eighth. Then we got Rogue Nipra in ninth and Killer Pros in 10th. So we kind of got like two groups here. We got like the first group that's all within half a second with each other. And then you got Cobra down to Killer Pros, all essentially within about half a second of each other as well. So pretty interesting setup we got here, like having the two groups together. All right, so Alan, you all set with the screenshot?
I got the screenshots. You can go ahead and change the lobby. I'll be inputting results
Cool.
as we
Sounds
hang
good.
out and they practice.
All right, so we'll be switching over to our final qualifier track. Just making sure all the settings are correct. All right, Alan, let me know when you got the results all entered, and then we can kind of take a look at the aggregate results so far. Just whenever you're ready.
They are all inputted. They should be up to date on our sheet.
All right, so let's take a look at the current provisional results. So Sunny B currently sitting in first place with his average ranking of 1.5. Ollie Bali in overall second with his 3.0. And War Eagle with also a 3.0 in third place. The total times are super close. Looks like War Eagle is only 500ths off of Volleyball. So really crazy.
Yeah, that's our tentative tiebreaker right now, is just if they have the same average ranking, it'll be ranked by their cumulative time. But yeah, 5,500ths between the two. And your system is working really interesting. Holly that's with a first and a fifth place ranking. And then War awarded for his consistency, third and third for that even third average.
Yeah, so it looks like too that the top three or even the top four would still be the same, even if it was just measured on total time. Mine is currently sitting at fourth overall. And then we have Trackhead. Here's where things get a little different. So Trackhead, he unfortunately got disconnected. His internet went out, so he could only do the first one. He ended up in fourth place for the first qualifier, and that puts him in fifth overall. Neil in sixth place, Cobra in seventh, Kaido in eighth, Token to Me in ninth, Killer Pros in 10th, and Rogue in 11th. So even though Rogue outperformed Killer Pros in the last session, it wasn't enough. So looks like the battle between Killer Pros and Rogue continues into this last round here.
And we have Motsky has joined us in the room.
Yeah, Motsky mentioned he was going to show up a little bit late, so at least he'll be able to put in a time for this last session. So yesterday we did some practice and Dutra jumped in last minute. We did a couple of races with these cars on Tsukuba. And it was some of the most intense racing I've ever had in GT7. We had a 5-lap race where Dutra and I were essentially just battling it out back and forth, like passing and repassing, going side by side in almost all of the corners. While both of us were trying to chase down Ollie Bolly, but like we couldn't because we were fighting each other the entire time. It was the most intense race I don't think I've ever had in GT7.
Dutra is the bona fide Verstappen of the server. I think so far just comes in, drops massive results, and then pieces out for a while. So I'm glad he's joined LMC.
Yeah, he's certainly our resident. I was gonna say alien, but he's a resident robot.
Yeah.
If you ever get the pleasure to race against Dutra in LRC, you'll find that he uses the text-to-speech voice from, I think it's TikTok, I think. That's really funny hearing that voice when Dutra types. It's funny in chat where we were saying that like that's just his voice. Like whenever like we ever meet him in real life, like I would expect his voice to sound like the text-to-speech voice.
Has he ever said why he uses the text-to-speech? I love Silva's reason. Silva's another Discord member. I think. I hope he's not in chat, and if he is, please correct me if I'm wrong. They're both. Silva's an EU driver, so he always races with us super late, and I think his excuse is he doesn't want to wake his partner late at night, so he can't chat, and that's why he's been so stoic. But I don't know why Dutra opts not to voice chat. Again, if you're a first-time viewer thinking about joining us, you don't have to voice chat, but it does. He, of our voiceless drivers, he probably has the most personality based on that TikTok-esque voice. So.
Yeah. So we're currently riding on board with Neil. We're doing some warm-up before we start our final session. I'm gonna go ahead and give these guys the 2-minute warning. So Ollie Bolly looking like he's got some good pace so far. Sunny B right up along with him. Same with War Eagle. Alright, so we'll get ready to start qualifying in just a few minutes. Seconds, really. Looks like Matsuki has joined us and is on track. So it looks like everyone is ready to go. So Flying Disc leads the pack out on the out lap. We'll ride on board with him for his first hot lap. Has a neat and tidy line through the hairpin. I think this last turn in Tsukuba is probably one of the trickier ones, just simply because of how long that turn is, and it's just a constant radius turn. So kind of getting the braking and the slowing of your car just right to the middle of the turn and start accelerating from the middle point of the apex of the turn, or even taking a late apex, is a little tricky because it's very difficult to see what point of the corner that is. Thank you for following Isma, if that's how you pronounce the name. Sorry if I butchered it. For those who just joining us, we are LRC, that's Learners Racing Collective. This is the first Academy League that we have. So we typically have a main event league, just it's called the league, and we typically run that as our main event for our server. But this league will exclude any of our experienced drivers from participating, so this allows our beginners and our intermediate drivers to compete for a championship without having the aliens in the group consistently dominate. Find us there, getting a little squirrely on exit, decides to back out of his hot lap and let Sunny Bee by.
Now, has Alien always been just a sim racing term, or because I thought it started here with LRC, but as I've gotten like deeper into this community or the sim racing community, I've seen it bounced around in various forums and Reddit subreddits. Has it always been a thing calling them aliens?
I
the
think
super
so. I think it's
talented
actually
drivers?
been a generic racing thing. I honestly don't know where it's come from, so it'd be interesting to do a little bit of investigation to see where that came from originally. Oh, I forgot to add a link, an invite link. Let me do that. That's maybe what I was forgetting earlier.
Ah.
Let me pop that in chat right now. So if you're just joining us, again, we're LRC, and we're just a Discord group mainly focused on GT7, and a lot of our events are geared towards teaching and improving and coaching others while having a group that's very supportive with each other. So it's kind of like collaborative learning, and people will join LRC to get faster, but in a group where they feel like they can collaborate with others as opposed to be just simply competitive with others. So if you want to join up and join in some of our races or even compete in our Academy League, which is starting today, you can join our Discord. I just dropped the invite link in chat. And again, this league isn't committal, so if you can show up for a weekend and there's a spot, and you're available to race, then by all means join us. In most of our big events, we require something called a sportsmanship license that is not based on skill, but based on your knowledge of racecraft and clean racing to participate in. But in the Academy League, anyone can join, and we kind of go through the process of teaching racecraft and teaching clean racing during the league races. So currently running on board with our newest addition for this session, Matsuki. Matsuki's been a fairly long time LRC member, one of the few Canadians. Recently participated in the league season 2. I think he was in Bahamut, Team Bahamut.
Flying Disc is having a great latter half of the entire shootout. First session he was 5th place, and then he was 2nd in the last shootout, or in the second session. Now he's running 3rd. I guess it just maybe just proves how tight that first track was. I think the top 8 were within a second of each other, so
yeah. Miyabi is definitely one of those tracks where the deltas between the cars are going to be much smaller. But it could also be that he's acclimating to the car and the setup a little bit more as he continues throughout the sessions. Cobra also doing pretty well. He's currently sitting in 4th place at the moment. Coming up on a little bit of traffic as he turns through turn 1. Neil gives him a little bit of space, or I don't know if he gave him space or if Neil just ran off. Turn 3. I don't know if that technically should be turn 3, but they call it turn 3.
oh, that little kink right before the hairpin.
Yeah, that's turn 2. Like, come on, it's like Red Bull, you know, the kink in Red Bull is called turn 2. It's like, come on, it's not really a turn. So Cobra currently sitting in 4th place, only 64 thousandths of a second behind Flying Disc and about a 10th of a second in front of War. And War Eagle and Neil also separated by about a 10th. So Matsuki sets a new time. I don't think it improves his position, so he's still currently in 7th place. So Ollie Bolly on his hot lap after making a pit stop, it seems. Looks like lap 8 and 9 were an in and out lap. He's currently sitting in second with a 57.039. A full 0.3 of a second behind Sunny B's time. So he's looking to improve his time by more than 0.3. Not able to find the time on that lap. So Sunny B looking quite dominant so far in all of his sessions. There's still 10 minutes to go in this session, so still maybe a little early to claim that he's got first place. Man, yeah, Sunny B jumping in from, being a new member of LRC, being a self-proclaimed beginner and league rookie, joining the league 2 league races, and then already in the top spot of the intermediate and beginner classes. I think we were talking earlier about how just participating in the league at any sort of capacity just insanely accelerates your ability to increase your pace.
Yeah, I think it's just the amount of resources available to you as well. Like, I feel like in sport mode, before I joined LRC, you just, my only like resource was looking at the top leaderboards. Okay, that's the meta car, and then downloading their ghosts and then trying to replicate their lines. But when you join the league, you have 2 to 3 teammates that are driving a car similar to yours, if not the same car, depending if it's multi-class, and then providing just tips for you. I know Shinra, even though we only had 4 drivers on track at any time, I think at the end of the season we had a total of 8 drivers hop in to both cars at some point. So
Oh wow.
So many resources. I was doing some fun stats. What I found really remarkable is originally it started as a 28-person driver championship, but at the end of it, we ended up having a total of 40 individual drivers participate in the league in some fashion, whether it be one race or a substitute or a late addition. That just completely blew my mind. 40 different people. And I was able to recognize most of them by their voice and like, yeah, I know how they drive. I knew what team. Just really just remarkable when you kind of like take a look back and look at all the stats generated from that. I'm still going through it. I wish I could share more, but just tons of effort from everyone.
It's crazy because 40 is not a number I would have thought of at all if you would have asked me how many total people would have participated in the league last season. I was thinking in my head, 28 drivers initially, and then maybe, like 5 or 6 more, but 12 more people? That's wild.
Yeah, but yeah, just going back to that, joining the league like really accelerates it. You have everyone that sometimes it's just like a little tidbit that really just unlocks a new like level or understanding of your car. It's just like that's just part of the resources too. And I hope this community like shares lines, or not necessarily lines, but like their approaches to certain corners. Like it's hard not to completely get rid of the competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Even in an academy league, but
yeah, I'm hoping that the spirit of this league is going to be a little bit more collaborative than what we saw in season 2 of the league. But even still, like whenever I was doing the track walks and in the academy sessions for the league, it was fairly collaborative as well. It wasn't like drivers from each team were just withholding information and not saying much. Everyone was just kind of chiming in and talking about how they took a certain line, or like where they got gain time after they realized they cut some corner or they've compromised a corner. So I'm hoping it'll be very similar for the drivers here.
And so your future like academy sessions that we normally do on Wednesday or Thursday, are they going to be like track walk style for the upcoming courses as well, or
I haven't decided
how are you going
actually.
to approach it?
Yeah, like I honestly haven't decided yet. I think I want to do so. Actually, a '90s kid was going to take over Wednesdays with Rookie Academy, which is
Hmm.
more geared towards helping the beginners. But since he started that, he's had some like technical issues with his pedals. So I'm kind of back to doing the Wednesday Academy now. But I'm actually kind of undecided on whether or not I wanted to do the track walk style stuff because um, it kind of puts too much emphasis maybe on the people participating in this league and then kind of leaves everyone else out. But
Gotcha.
at the same time, the track walks are still very valuable even if you're not competing. Like they teach you like how mechanical grip changes throughout certain corners and stuff, and it can be pretty enlightening for people even if they're not going to be racing on that track competitively that weekend or that Friday. Like when we did the one for Laguna, we had a lot of people join that weren't even part of the league, and they were saying, "Oh, like that's why I can never take the corkscrew correctly, or that's why I always spin out there, or that's why I can never accelerate at that point." So it's a great
Yeah,
teaching tool.
I was gonna. Laguna was the one I had in mind. That one really firmed up my understanding of that course tremendously. That was my best result for the season 2. I think I placed 4th. I think that my next best was like 6th, and I think the way you talked about like the sight lines when coming down the corkscrew was, and it's just interesting, like the little tidbits you pick on, like what unlocks a better understanding. It wasn't like where you placed the car, but simply what you were looking at while
Hmm.
going through the corner. And I felt after that like the corkscrew was not this like dreadful thing that I approached every time,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it becomes more of like, oh, like this is just another part of the track you go through. I
yep,
think the other one that really I think it was Interlagos, and that you like would flip the car 180 and just look at the corner differently, and you can see if it was off camber or like how the car kind of
right.
like hooks into a line. It's yeah, I get that it can be a little exclusionary, but so much cool information that you can just glean from a collaborative environment.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of beginner drivers, it's something that isn't even on their radar when they're thinking about turning into a corner. Is like the topography of the corner and how that affects their grip. They're just like, oh, I take this corner here? Do I accelerate at this point, or do I turn this much? But then once you start explaining like why you get grip at certain points of a corner, or why you don't, or why you can't accelerate, why you can't, then it kind of gives them the tools to really break down every single corner, and then gives them kind of like a toolkit, right, to be able
Yeah, definitely.
to understand like why a car behaves a certain way through a corner. Yeah, I think for Interlagos we were talking about, I think it was the Bikuchipatu, which is like
Yep.
the tight hairpin. And then on exit, like you feel like in the middle of the corner, you feel like you have a ton of grip because there's like a little bit of a compression there. But then like as soon as you start accelerating and getting wide into that little crest on the outside where like the curb kind of falls away from the track is when like you spin out.
Yeah, that was the exact corner I was thinking of. I remember you flipping your Mercedes 180 and just seeing how that corner actually like really was. I don't know. It just, again, it goes from a right-hander to a right-hander that's slightly like off camber, if I remember correctly, and just your entry point and like approaching it as like a passing point or a defending point. It becomes so much more than brake at 100 meters, turn right, and then
Yeah.
gas out. It's very cool. I think the next step in my own personal understanding is how to like pass that information on effectively. So
Hmm.
I do want to host. It became fairly regular for me to host practice sessions before each league race. So, and I know some of our expert drivers are interested in coaching to some extent. So it's going to be interesting to see who like steps up, even if it's just a one-time thing or just is a consistent source of information for these beginner and intermediate drivers. But I think we're about to end this session right now. I think Sunny B's on his final lap.
So Sunny B crosses the line, the checkered flag, in the first position with a solid 0.6 of a second ahead of Ollie Bali, who is in second place, but a 56.246. Looks like War Eagle jumps up into fifth. I think Neil had fifth place temporarily. And Killer Pros improves his time, but not his position. So Killer Pros makes it's like a personal best at 8th place. So taking a look at the results. Let me take away the aggregate results. All right, so Sunny B comes out on top with the first position. Not necessarily a pole position, but it's kind of like a pole position. So he's in first. Ollie Bali gets second with 0.6 of a second behind. Flying Disc in third place. So Flying Disc does keep improving throughout all the sessions. Cobra in fourth. War in fifth. Neil in sixth. Motsky on his first session ends up in seventh place. Killer Pros improves to 8th place. Kaido in 9th. Token Timmy has a little bit of a trouble on this session, on this course, is in 10th place, and then Rogue is 11th. So overall, looks like top 4 are within us. So it's more like Sunny B is in his own little cohort. He's by himself. Then you have Ollie Bali, Flying Disc, and Cobra. And looks like up until Motsky are all within about half a second. And then you got Killer Pros, Kaido, Token Timmy, and Rogue in the sort of back half cohort. Gonna communicate to these drivers that this will be it. Wait, what? I said I couldn't like chat that because that is inappropriate language.
That's too funny.
I
What
typed
did
in
you
that'll
type?
be I typed in that'll be it. Okay, so that works. That'll be it for today, y'all. And then I typed in thanks for participating.
This is like the jankiest I've ever seen the game operate in a
Oh, dude,
long
it says I
time.
can't. Okay, so it says I can't say thanks for participating. Is the word participating like here participating?
I'm trying to look for some
Partici-
sort of inappropriate language in that word embedded somewhere, and I can't think of one.
participating. Yeah, it won't let me type in participating. That's wild. Okay, well I'll just say thanks, y'all. That's crazy. Cecil says I'm too nice, unfortunately. GT7 says I need to be more, apparently less nice. All right, so let's take a
Get
look at the
out.
aggregate results.
Yeah, all set for you.
All right, so looks like Sunny B comes out on top with his average placement of 1.3 and total time of 145 seconds. Ollie Bali is second. Flying Disc comes out with a third place finish. War Eagle in fourth. So that's interesting. So Flying Disc averaged better ranking, but his total time actually was about 5/100ths of a second slower than War Eagle. So War Eagle in fourth place with an average position ranking of 3.7. Trackhead maintains fifth place from his just one session due to dropping out with internet connectivity issues. Cobra in sixth place, he was only able to do the two last sessions, but it looks like he averaged. Was he in fifth both, or was he like fourth and then like
He was
sixth or something?
6th and 4th.
6 and 4, okay. So Neil is seventh with a 5.3, Motsky eighth with a 7.0, Kaido with a 7.7 in ninth, Token Timmy in 10th, Killapros in 11th, and Rogue in 12th. So based on time, it looks like that this would have been basically the same as the time, except for War and Flying Disc would have been flipped. And then we wouldn't have known where Trackhead or Cobra or Motsky would have fit into the to the formula. But it looks like it's pretty good from, judging by, what I know of the drivers and their pace. But surprisingly, Sunny B surprised me definitely. I didn't expect Sunny B to be dominant in essentially all three. Well, it wasn't really dominant in all three, but pretty like at the top for all three sessions. So good job, Sunny B. Good job, Ollie. And Fine Disc too with a solid result.
Sunny too fast says Stoles in the chat. It might be. I guess that might be one of the objectives of this season is to see are you really a B or an I?
Yeah.
One that comes to mind is 32 Nasty. I think he's intermediate right now, but and Sir Hames as well. Those are our resident 1 and 2 podium finishers in the league
Sir Hames,
championship.
I think definitely should probably. I don't know yet. So that's a tough thing though about these classifications, right? Is that you could be good at qualifying, right? But then you could maybe have difficulties with an hour-long race, right? Or difficulty with racecraft, or there's tons of facets that go into skill, which kind of like don't get factored into these three basic classifications that we have at LRC. So at the end of the day, I think this does a pretty decent job of determining pace. But again, like there's so much to racecraft that's not just a qualifying pace. So we'll see how this plays out throughout the season. So
your potential ballast, is it for our next Friday is going to be our first race. Is it going to be like a standard 50 kilogram, 25 kilogram, or is it going to be like percentage based or like a scale?
I haven't decided yet. I actually wanted to wait to see the results of these qualifiers and people's times to determine what to do. And I think it might just be a gradual ballast that gets applied all the way through the leaderboard, so that everyone is close to even as possible. But that might be a little bit tricky to do, so I'm not quite sure. And I was thinking maybe it might be an interesting idea as well to apply ballast not to just the top 5, but maybe the entire grid as well, each race. So I'm not quite sure. I'm just trying to figure it out, like, what could be, what might lead to the best possible results, but also not have the cars weigh like, 100% heavier by the end of the season than when they started, because that changes the characteristics of the car when you're driving as well. So yeah, I'm still trying to work through what the best option will be here. But find out next week as we continue the Academy League. We'll have our first race at high speed rink, so the ballast will actually have a huge effect there. And hopefully I'll get it right so that no one car is going to be so heavily penalized that they're going to be left behind in the dust. But I think High Speed Ring will be a great first track for our Academy League, since it's fairly, not too complex, but it's kind of like Miyabi, where you need to be able to hit the turns correctly at high speed. So you're still on the edge, but it's not like a super technical track like Suzuka East is. So if you're just joining us, we're finishing up here. Definitely hit the follow button. We'll be broadcasting around the same time next week for the next about 6 weeks. I think we have a break in one of the weeks there, but follow along. And then also, if you're interested in racing as well, join our Discord, which is pinned in Twitch chat. And then you'll join our community. You'll get all the info there to know what you need to do to join the league and participate. So, any final comments, questions, or anything, Alan, before we log off? Nope. Looks like
Sorry, I was
silence.
muted. I was just
like,
gonna
nope,
say,
looks like you didn't.
my usual spiel. If you're new in the Twitch chat, please join us. This is a great beginner league, and we also have, just plugging our future events. We have a LRC is doing one of your challenges that's new to this kind of like season is Wonka's put forward like a time trial. So if you want a more like personalized approach to seeing how you stack up against other drivers in Gran Turismo, we have that going on. We're gonna have some spec racing starting soon. I run a Sunday Cup, so if you just want a friendly group of people to race with every Sunday or Saturday, we've got that coming up. I'm actually already, in regards to this league, I'm already interested in seeing a post-league shootout again to see people's like understanding of the car and how much times will drop. But yeah, lots to do, lots to see.
All right. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.